Hi, Ruben at Camp Hatch, and was looking on the forums for how to get out the back of my Sienna camper van without buying an XLE, and didn't find any great answers. So dug into the wiring and figured out a solution. It's pretty simple, so I'll show you how it works, and then I'll go back and show you how I did it. My apologies for not taking the videos as I was working on this project. I'll try to stay ahead of that in the future. So here's our Sienna, real easy to get in through the lift gate switch here. Bed and air conditioner, we're in for this experiment, and we'll have more about those later. Of course, you can see about the Medea in the front seat. But now that I'm in, I'm kind of stuck here. And yeah, my side doors, the way I've got the bed, I can go out them, but they're partially blocked. We really wanted to go out the back. Figured it'd be nice in the rain, you know, too, to be able to get out the back because you're under cover right away. So I wired in a switch in parallel with that outside switch, and I can open that latch and get outside. And it's really nice. So I'll show you how I did it. Thought I should mention that part of this rear door access that we found helpful is we've removed the narrow rear row seat. The bigger one will come out. The 2/3 will come out as well later, just not yet. To do that, there's one bolt here with a cable attached to it. Down here under the seat, with it with it out in the seat position, there's a plastic cover. It just pops right up, and then there were 2 bolts here and here, and with those 3 bolts out, it was really easy to just pull that unit. I put a strap around it to keep all the folding mechanism folded up, and it stores real nice until we're ready to put it back in when we need a 7-passenger van again. Well, my neighbor decided to mow while I'm filming, but hopefully you can hear me all right. Real handy tools for these are these Harbor Freight interior trim pullers, plastic and a little gentle on this stuff. So to get where we need to go, and this is the same that you'd see on a video for replacing the switch, we're gonna pop that panel, and then the side ones. I didn't find I needed my tools for this. There's 3 here, and then there's a latch up at the top. That one right there. Keep that on that side, then I don't have to remember later. And then the same over here. I'm just pulling those out, and that top catch. Same there. Now my top one, or my big one up here, there is about right here and about over here a hook that goes into a hole here. Real easy to break. I've already broken one. Those come out last, and so yeah, try not to break them. Old plastic and all that. But there's a series of same kind of snaps, and you kind of work your way from the sides, trying to pull them straight out of their holes. You know, I'm gonna get the cameraman. You can see here's this thing we're pulling, and they're all up in the holes in the sheet metal here. So there's my next one back there. I need to get 2. I'm probably gonna just have to set Mr. Camera down here and finish this. We'll just give it a go. How's that? Oh! There's a bolt here, so I'm going to get a wrench and get that bolt off. So there should be a little plastic cover snapped over this. Mine's been missing for a few years. There's another little plastic cover here. I prefer to just go ahead and get this one off so I don't bump it out and lose it. And then it's just a matter here of getting a wrench on this guy and pulling this out, which is a lot easier with two hands. So I'm going to shut the camera off and do that. There we are with that bolt and little bracket removed. And do that before you start popping stuff loose, because I'm having to hold this thing up now. I'm going to need two hands to get this cover off, so I'm going to try setting this down again. And I really don't know what you're looking at now because I don't have it in selfie mode. Sorry. But I've probably got a couple more of those, but when it feels really nice and loose, and it will move to the back, that's what you want to do without snapping that off. That's the one from the other side. Oh, and it doesn't slide to the back, it slides to the front. So to the front, and there's that hook there. Be fun to see what that looks like. But there's that hook. There's where it used to be on the other side. They go into these two square holes here and here on the bottom side of that guy. All right. So there are, I'm kind of sitting down here. If you were replacing this switch, you'd be after these 4 bolts here and this little clip here. That's in other videos. So that is your license plate light, right? So that's above the license plate on the outside, which is where that switch is. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. So it's these lights and this switch, right? And if you pull those bolts, which we're not going to do, you would if you were replacing the switch, but that's not what we're going to do. You get this whole trim piece off between the tail lights, okay? So that's what you can see in some other videos that are about replacing that switch. What I had to do was figure out which of these plugs I needed to check which was the switch, and it turns out it's this one, and I've spliced in here. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. This one powers the license plate lights, so if you've got your headlights on, if you pull this plug out, you should be getting 12 volts at this plug. Be one way to do it. Another way is you would read the light bulb resistance if you pop this plug and read it. The way that really helped me out a lot was I pulled this plug and I'd already looked up the replacement switch, and the replacement switch had a piece of protective tubing sleeving on it like this, and it had a plug that looked like this plug. And the plug on the other side that powers the license plate lights doesn't look like that. It's only got 2 holes in the end. So that was really helpful to me. I also used my ohm meter then to read across the 2 pins here while I pushed that switch on the outside. And sure enough, it got resistance when I pushed the switch. And that gave me a pretty good idea that I had a very simple switch. And then I was also able to take a handy electrical tool, a bent paper clip, and short the 2 pins in here with the tailgate closed. And when I did that, it activated the motor unit here, and it unlatched the door. So all those ways to make sure I've got the right switch. And if I just put a simple momentary close switch on it, we were going to get there. So that's what I did. I went to the little hardware store down the street. I bought this switch right here with the 2 nuts on it. The other nut is up inside there. 2 wires coming off of it. So I wired to the switch and then drilled my hole here and installed it. Whoops, drilled my hole here and focus. Installed the switch after I put the wires on it. I brought my 2 wires out here and I just very simply pigtailed them. I cut the I cut the switch wire because it had some slack, and I just put all 3 wires up into here. That puts this switch, here it is, talking and running the camera at the same time. What a challenge. That puts this switch in parallel. So if I activate either switch, I get my, my latch mechanism to work, and it works great. I'll just say I did locate this switch here by kind of picking where I wanted based on the places where those trim panel pins are going in. Said I wanted about this far over. So I came over here to my panel and I measured off of the 2 pins, and I guesstimated my hole in there. Cut it with the wrong tool, and so I had to put a little piece of trim on there to smooth it out. That's just windshield washer tubing that's been slit down the length and then trimmed to length to fit in there. So I put that in, I popped the panel back up enough to then reach through it with a pencil, and I marked my hole here and then drilled that out. If I was doing this again, I'd feel up under here. There's actually 2 pieces of metal. Here's the welds. Whoops, here's the welds here, spot welds. So there's 2 pieces of metal in the corner. Here's some of that. I'd have moved it over a little further to where there was only 1 piece of metal to drill through. And then I would have had half as much drilling to do. But I didn't realize there was 2 pieces there when I marked my hole, and I'd already cut the trim panel, so we went with that. So there's the switch, and we can, with that off, all right, with that off, I think I had my focus locked in there. Sorry about that. We can test it. If you push it with the door open, nothing happens. But if I close the door and I activate my switch, nothing happens. And that is because I have it unplugged. Plug it in, and now it works. All right, so now I'm just gonna pop my trim pieces all back on in reverse order. Put it all back together, and that is how you get outside of your van through the back door from the inside. Really handy when it's raining. Till next time, this is Camp Hatch. Bye. Hey, here's something that I hope is handy. You wanna look around before you put it back together for any of these trim panel rivety guys that stuck. This is where the Harbor Freight thing's gonna come in handy on this. I'm gonna use it to pop this out. It's a 2-inch job, so I'm not gonna film it because I don't have a cameraman. But I got this one and this one. So I got 2 over here. So these go in their places like this on the panel, and there's almost always gonna be some others that show you exactly what it's looked like, so it's just gonna slide into that slot. I've got one that's a little busted up, so I might even run to the store and take an example with me to get the right one and have them all back in there. Having owned old Toyotas for a long time, I can tell you, you can usually get by with one busted one. So replace as needed, but before you try to pop any of this trim back on, you want to make sure you've got all of those out of the metal and back onto the trim, because you cannot slide them into this slot as you're trying to put that trim piece back on. So do that, and your trim will go back on real happy.